guys, it's Amber from Amber Eats Books, and I'm here today to film my week 2 reading wrap-up. Now this week wasn't the best reading week for me. I went on vacation and I thought, yes, I'm gonna have a ton of time to read, and actually I didn't have that much time to read, though I still was able to get my 5 books in before filming this video. I'm actually a couple days late in filming it. That was the only reason why I was able to get all 5 of those books. Also, I DNF'd 2 of them, so that also helped in being able to get those 5 books in. Anyway, let's get started. I'm going to go in no particular order, and the first book I'm going to start with is Crooked Letter by Tom Franklin. I gave this book 3 out of 5 stars. It was okay. It wasn't that I hated it. It wasn't that I didn't like the characters. I just felt that it was okay. The story wasn't as compelling as I really wanted it to be. The characters weren't as intriguing as I wanted them to be. It was just, it felt like I had read the story before. It felt like I had heard the story a million times. I just wanted this to be so much more emotional. I wanted to either laugh or cry or yell or something, and I didn't. I felt as if my emotions were just flatlined throughout this whole book. I liked the writing. I did enjoy the writing style, hence the reason why I gave it 3 stars. The story itself bordered more on like a 2.5 for me, but hopefully, you know, I'll pick something else up by this author and I would really enjoy it. We'll see. The next book we're going to talk about is The Revolution of Ivy by Amy Engel. It is book 2 in the Book of Ivy series. I really enjoyed the first book. The first book I think I gave 4 out of 5 stars. Don't quote me on that because I haven't checked my Goodreads. But I really enjoyed the first one. It is a dystopian. It is, you know, that typical there's the government and you have to fight the government and things like that type of story. But I felt like the first one just gave a little bit more heart. It just had a little bit more heart than other dystopians that I've read. So I really enjoyed the first one. The second one, however, I just felt was okay. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first. I think the plot itself was fine. It did, you know, answer some questions and, you know, go through and tie up loose ends and things like that. So I do feel that as like a conclusion to the duology, it did satisfactorily end for me. However, I just felt that in this one, the characters were really whiny. Like, why? Why do you have to be so whiny? And they were a little, they felt a little more juvenile sometimes in this one, especially some of the writing felt a little more juvenile than it did in the first book. I mean, I know it's a YA book, so sometimes juvenile writing is to be expected, and I am older and probably shouldn't be reading YA. I mean, not that I shouldn't be, but I go into YA literature with a different expectation. I understand that sometimes the YA genre, you will get a little bit more juvenile type views and writing and things like that. So I try to go into it with different expectations than I would reading like new adult fiction or, you know, nonfiction or something like that. However, just this book was a little too much for me at times. Like I said though, I really did enjoy the storyline, so I would definitely try more books by Amy Engel, because I do think she is a pro at like writing relationships. Just this book didn't showcase that as much as the first one did. And the next book I'm going to be talking about, I will say, is probably the one I was most disappointed with. I had been saving this book, Silver Girl by Ellen Hildebrand, for a couple of months. I'd been saving it on my shelf to read specifically at the beach, because what screams more than beach read than this cover? I had read a few other books by her, so I kind of already knew what to expect, and I went into it, you know, eager and hoping it'd be just the, you know, fun, entertaining kind of read that you want when you're sitting on the beach on vacation. Unfortunately, I only gave this book 1 star and I did not finish it. I really tried my hardest. I tried so hard with this book. I've read this book, I started it, I want to say on the beach or maybe the morning before we actually got to the beach, but I started it close to around when we got to the beach. I got about 30 pages in and I was like, I can't do this. But I was like, okay, well, 30 pages isn't a lot. Maybe, you should give it a little bit more time. You never know. It is quite, a substantial book. It might turn around. It might turn around even quicker than you think it would. So just give it a little more time. So I sat down 4 more times with this book. And for me, I'm a quick reader. I plow through books, in a day. So for me to sit down on 4 more occasions and only get about 140 pages in says a lot about the book and about how much I didn't like it. It was the characters. Okay, there was 2 main characters, Meredith and Connie. I'm not going to give any spoilers, just telling you about these characters, the things I didn't like. Connie I didn't mind. Connie was, at least a little bit more relatable than Meredith. She was a little bit more likable than Meredith. But still, even her problems, I just couldn't, I just couldn't connect to. I couldn't connect to her, really. I don't know what the problem was. It's not the writing, because the writing is perfectly fine. I like her style of writing. And I know what I'm getting when I open one of her books, usually. But then we got to Meredith. I just couldn't stand her. She whined so much. She just whined and whined about her problems and about her situation, and she didn't really take responsibility. And granted, maybe she takes responsibility later on in the book. Obviously, I hope that's true. I hope she developed the character enough to at least take responsibility for her part and her actions for her problems. However, I got 140 pages in and she still wasn't taking any responsibility, and I just couldn't handle it. I couldn't. Like I said, tried 4 times. Finally, I was just staring at this, contemplating sitting down for a 5th time to read it. And I said, you know what? I'm already behind on my vacation reading for this week. I'm already behind. I normally try to read about 5 books a week. I was already behind, and I just said, I'm not doing it. I can't. So I will definitely pick up more books by this author because, like I said before, I really do like her stories. I really do like her characters, and I love that they're all really set on Nantucket and the beach, and sometimes I read them in the middle of winter to give me, that pick me up for the seasonal kind of feel, because you get depressed and whatever in the winter from the weather, and I just couldn't get into this one, but I will pick up more. And the next book I have to talk about is The Evolution of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin. It is the 2nd book in the trilogy, and I really enjoyed the first one. I think I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I did feel like the scenes between the 2 main characters it was like a love story between them, and it was just a little too much at times, so hence the reason why I took the 5th star away. But otherwise, I liked the plot and everything. I liked how it flowed. The 2nd book, however, I picked it up and I just was not feeling it. I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. I didn't hate it like I did Silver Girl, the last book I just reviewed. But I just wasn't feeling it. I don't know. The characters just kind of felt like they weren't as sincere as the first book, maybe. It just wasn't for me. Maybe it was the mood I was in. I was trying to, prepare to go on vacation and stuff, and it just kind of felt like a chore to read it, so I didn't bother finishing it. I think I got about halfway through and I said, okay, I'm not finishing it. My teenage daughter had just read it, so I just asked her, to fill me in on the last half of the book and what happened, and I don't think I'll be picking up the 3rd book in the series. I think just maybe I've moved past it already. I know that sounds weird since I just read the first book only like a month ago, but oh well, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and I just lost with this book. Now, the last book that I have, I was keeping my fingers crossed that this book would pull up my reading for the week. Let's recap. I rated 2 books 3 stars. I rated 1 book 2 stars and 1 book 1 star. So for me, not a stellar reading week. So I was like, please let this book just pull it up, please. And it did. And I wasn't expecting it not to, because really, how could you go wrong? It was Peter Pan by J.M. Barrie, and it was illustrated by Greg Hildebrand, and it was just fantastic. I had never read Peter Pan, the original version anyway. Of course, I've seen the Disney movie, and I've read, you know, other children's books that were kind of other versions of it and things like that, but to actually read the original version, I can't talk today, version, the original version was a real treat, actually. The writing was beautiful. I was surprised by how much darker this was than, of course, the Disney version, the fluffy version. It did make some reference to bosoms and orgies. Granted, maybe I'm just reading the language a little differently than how it was intended, but I was like, I didn't know that's what that meant, because he used some word, I think a word that I'd never heard of before, and I looked it up and I was like, plump and fleshy, especially when referring to bosoms. And I laughed out loud, and my kids were asking me, why are you laughing? And it was funny. But anyway, yeah, there were some things, some characters that were different than the characters I had seen in the Disney version and things like that. Not different as far as new people, just different as far as the way they acted and things like that. But overall, I just enjoyed this book. It took me a little over an hour to read. I was so immersed in the story. Some things were so spot on with the Disney version that it kind of was like, oh wow, they really didn't change that scene too much. But other things were a little different, and it was enjoyable to kind of see how the things that I grew up with compared to the original. So I just wanted to say too, hold on, let me find an illustration or two. These illustrations were just gorgeous. I love looking at them, and my 6-year-old actually loves to look at them as well. So they're just beautiful. So 5 out of 5 stars. Love this book. So glad that I read it. So glad it picked up my reading week for me. So those are all the books I have for you this week. Sorry it took me so long to get this video, recorded and uploaded. As you can imagine, this past week was just a little crazy with vacation and having people stay at my house and things like that. So new week, starting fresh. I will try and get these videos up as fast as possible just so we can be caught up, so my next week's reviews and TBRs will be on time. Anyway, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more bookish videos, please subscribe to my channel. And as always, happy reading.